When President Trump came into office, he signed an order that cleared the path to strip federal funds from cities that don't comply with our nation's immigration laws. There are sanctuary cities all across America providing safe haven for undocumented criminals. Chicago is one of them. Today, its mayor filed suit accusing the administration of blackmail. Here's Rahm Emanuel.
We are a welcoming city and always will be. It was for my grandfather 100 years ago this year. In addition to that, our police department is built on the principles of community policing. We don't want officers just patrolling a neighborhood, but to be part of that neighborhood and the fabric. And the fact is, by forcing us, or the police department, to choose between the values of the city and the philosophy of the police department of community policing, I think it's a false choice, and it actually undermines our actual public safety agenda.
Attorney General Jeff Sessions released a statement earlier calling it astounding that Chicago would protect criminal aliens who prey on their own residents and be hostile to laws designed to protect law enforcement. Sessions says comply with the law or forego taxpayer dollars. Make sense?
Yeah, but I'm always tired of people being accused of blackmail when they're just trying to explain an agreement or a deal. So it's, if you don't do your job, you'll be fired. So by this definition, that's blackmail. If I show up for the 5 late, I'll be fired. I go, wait, you're blackmailing me. You're telling me that if I don't show up on time, I lose my job. That's exactly the reasoning here. They're saying if you don't comply by the law, you do not get these funds. Could you imagine if Rahm Emanuel felt as strongly about gang violence as he does for Donald Trump? Most of his opinion is driven by agreeing with the PC assumptions. You know, he comes out against Chick-fil-A because that's cool. He comes out against Trump because that's cool. He won't come out against gang violence because that could be perceived as bigotry.
All right, Dana, and by the way, the Chick-fil-A chicken biscuits are amazing.
Yes, but they go straight to my hips, girlfriend.
I can see from here.
I can tell. So I think that
Mean show.
this is a prospective lawsuit because these funds have not been withheld yet. So it was almost like a little bit of a PR stunt by the mayor. But I also feel like it's only $3.2 million, right? Look, but like in the city of Chicago, like if you really don't want to comply, okay, like then don't take the money. If that's really how, if you feel that strongly about it, then either raise taxes in your city or cut someplace else. Like if you really don't want to do it, then don't ask for the money.
There's a way you can work around if you want to make that kind of political
I'd love to see
statement
some mayor across the city, across the United States, to just make that decision. Like, okay, we're good. We don't need the federal help. Thank you very much. We're going to just, we're going to do our local thing.
That would be a strong stand, Jesse. That would make sense. If that's exactly what they really feel and they can do without it, then make that case.
But Rahm would rather fight Trump than fight crime. He's protecting criminal illegal aliens over the residents of his own city. And he said something funny in the little statement to CNN. He said, this undermines our actual safety agenda. I didn't even know he had a safety agenda. That was news to me. So basically, a bad hombre beats someone over the head with a baseball bat in Chicago, gets picked up, they bring him in, doesn't speak any English, has no ID, got gang tattoos all over his face. They run his prints. He's been deported and has a felony in California. All Trump and Sessions want is, hey, Rahm, give us a call 2 days before you release this guy back on the street so maybe we could pick him up. And Rahm says no. Rahm's saying releasing criminal illegal aliens onto the streets of Chicago makes Chicago safer. That doesn't make any sense to me. This happened in Phoenix, Arizona. It was a sanctuary city. They revoked their sanctuary city status, and crime went down 25%. Armed robbery went down. Car theft went down. Assaults went down. They did a study, University of Riverside in California, 6-year study. Sanctuary cities have a higher rate of crime than non-sanctuary cities. So someone like Rahm that's doing this is just trying to gain a little traction for his left-wing crew, raise his profile, but he doesn't care at all about people on the South Side.
All right, Richard, an amazing reply and rebuttal is coming from you. I can feel it.
I can't.
Well, actually, if you read the welcoming cities resolution that's passed in Chicago, an individual like that would actually be deported in the city of Chicago. Because,
how so?
Because the law actually says if you commit a violent crime or there's a warrant out for your arrest outstanding, you would be reported to ICE immediately. What Jeff Sessions is asking him to do is if somebody gets a traffic ticket and they are supposed to be detained for, like, whatever, you get a traffic ticket.
Okay, so just a traffic ticket. Is selling heroin a violent crime?
If they're, let me finish my statement. Right?
I mean, is it?
Can I finish my statement?
Go ahead. I'd like you to finish it with the answer, though.
The welcoming cities resolution in the city of Chicago and in Cook County says if you've committed a violent crime or there's a current warrant for your arrest, you will be held and you'll be checked against the ICE system. If you are found to be illegal, then the ICE will be contacted, and then the deportation proceedings will go as planned, right? If it is something else, if it's a minor infraction, you will be released because there was a lawsuit in Portland in 2014 in which which a federal judge said it is unconstitutional to hold these illegal immigrants for longer than 48 hours under the Fourth Amendment.
Driving or reckless endangerment or assault, those I consider
in 2014, a federal judge said that these individuals were held against their will for 48 hours, and that is against the Fourth Amendment of search and seizure.
Wait, so illegal aliens have constitutional rights?
When did that happen? According to a federal judge.
When did that happen?
According to a federal judge in Portland, Oregon.
So some judge says that, fine. You know what? I don't believe a criminal illegal alien has constitutional rights.
Your due process rights.
You're a lawyer. You can take it from
I don't know, my earpiece is malfunctioning as we speak. I need help.
You're a lawyer.
I am a lawyer. So the problem is here, there's a differing of opinion between the federal government and what they believe, and I believe what the federal government believes, that the law should be enforced, that it should be followed. Now, the states are trying to enforce, and I agree with Dana, that, listen, if they have an issue and quarrel with the U.S. government and the feds, then they should say, we're not going to take your money, and then it really kind of takes, like, the rug out from under the federal government. Because if they're saying, you can't tell me what to do if I'm not taking your money to try and subsidize my city. So there you go.
Right.
That's how they really do this in an honest way, and I don't see that Ron Miller.
I agree there. I think the problem that we have is we sit for years, since the 1980s.
And we do give due process. But
right. Since the 1980s, we have a patchwork of a sloppy immigration system, right? And I think the 1980s have called, and they've asked for the immigration system back. And if our politicians in Washington...
I think I'm going to ban that joke.
I think immediately.
Then you can ban it if you like.
One more thing today.
All right, you could
it
ban
didn't work with Obama and Russia either.
Fair. You could ban it if you like, but it's true. We have sloppy immigration laws, and which is why we're where we are today. If we were to actually if our politicians in Washington were bold enough and brave enough to fix our broken immigration system, we wouldn't be here, and which is why they're sanctuary cities to begin with, because we have broken laws, and mayors and governors are saying, I hear you, Mr. Trump. There is illegal immigration. I hear you, Mr. Trump. We have a problem. I hear you, Mr. Trump. Our borders are porous. But, hey, these laws are outdated. So why don't you work with Republicans in the House and Republicans in the Senate to fix our broken immigration laws, period?
The reason why we're doing this segment is because it's about Chicago, which has a glaring murder problem.
But that's not caused by illegal immigrants.
No,
that's caused by illegal guns.
I'm getting to that point. No, you're absolutely wrong on it's caused by illegal guns. It's caused by criminals. There may be, let me finish. Let me indulge you and say there is no correlation between sanctuary cities and the mass of murders that are taking place in the streets of Chicago. What it does show you is that a city prefers to act symbolically with things like sanctuary cities rather than acting concretely to stop the murders. So they'll sit there and they'll get up there and they'll talk about sanctuary cities while people are actually dying. Poor urban blacks are the most likely to be the victims of crime. We know that. The way that you can stop and reduce that crime is making guns more available to them to defend themselves against the criminals. Their permits are too high in Illinois. They're like $450 for permits and training. John Lott has a great article on that this morning. In New York, you got to be rich and powerful to get a permit. We are denying poor, law-abiding citizens the right to defend themselves against people that are out there with illegal guns, because you can get illegal guns in gun-controlled cities like Chicago. Every time you blame it on illegal guns, you are showing that gun control doesn't work, especially in cities like Chicago where gun control is so high.
So I have one response to that. So the former police chief in Chicago said this, and like Donald Trump supports the police, I support the police, right? He said this: the #1 problem in the streets of Chicago is this: the proliferation of illegal guns.
In a highly gun-controlled city.
Right, exactly. And, and most of these illegal guns are not coming from Chicago. They're coming from places like Indiana. They're coming from places like Arizona. They're coming from all the border states where they have these ridiculous gun laws where you can go to a gun show and buy enough weapons to blow up the Taliban in one day.
Not true.
That is true.
No, it's not
Talk
true.
to the police department in Chicago, and they'll tell you that. Talk to the former police chief.
I think if you talk to other police chiefs, they will also tell you that it has to do with the fact that people aren't allowed to protect themselves. There are studies that show that criminals will not go to places where they think somebody is armed. Felons will fill out questionnaires and say they've actually avoided places where somebody is armed. If you are armed, people are less likely to bother you. You got to arm these people. It'll make their communities safer.
Soft targets.
Yes.
We've been saying.
Harden the soft targets.